Yes, long distance from Vancouver for Gene Roddenberry.
Say again, please.
Long distance for Gene Roddenberry. Pardon me, I'm sorry.
This is Gene Roddenberry speaking.
Oh, hi, it's John Oliver at CFMI. Were you informed about an interview at this time?
No, but I'm happy to give one.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I understood that everything was set up, that you knew about it and everything. I just wanted to do a brief 5-minute phone interview. It's
Fine. Tell me who you are so I can relate.
I'm sorry, I guess the line isn't that clear. It's John Oliver,
John Oliver,
and I'm with CFMI Radio in Vancouver.
Yes, sir. Fine.
How are you?
I'm fine. It's a nice sunny morning here in Los Angeles.
Well, the sun is waiting for you up here, too.
I'm looking forward. It's a beautiful area that I haven't been to in 5 or more years, and I'm really looking forward to getting up there. I've always liked that part of the continent.
Well, that's nice to hear. Could you tell us a little bit, first of all, what we can expect from the Star Trek show?
All right. It's not... Star Trek sort of throws it off. I don't get up and talk about Star Trek. What really I do is do the kind of thing on stage that we used to do when we were coming up with Star Trek episodes. We take a look at humanity, what it is, where it appears to be going, what's happening to us, what are we about. This is what we did in our episodes, an item at a time, and really it is the thing I talk about on stage.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, I show some film. I show the Star Trek bloopers, which is the closest we get to Star Trek, which are really very funny.
Mm-hmm.
Actors, really very bright actors, making mistakes on stage, and the way they recover and the way they handle it. In other words, it's genuine humor.
Which is nice in a way, too, because it shows their humanity.
I think it always does, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a film. We show the first Star Trek pilot, which Isaac Asimov has been kind enough to call a classic. It hasn't appeared on TV. Parts of it have in another show, but we show it in its original form.
Is that the pilot in which Jeffrey Hunter plays Captain Kirk?
The lead, yes. The only regular Star Trek cast member that appears in it is Leonard Nimoy as a much younger Spock. In this show the computerized mind, the highly logical one, was a female who I had as second in command of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And in those pre-women's lib, pre-sexual equality days, NBC refused to go along with a woman second in command of a starship.
It was interesting, too. By the way, I sincerely enjoyed Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Thank you very much.
As many of us did. And I often felt, too, if I can word this properly, that the motion picture was very much a Star Trek movie in that it was far removed from the elements of a space cowboy flick.
Yes, we tried to do that, and we thought the news people, the critics, would notice, but apparently they didn't. I thought we'd get some of course, some did, of course, but I thought quite generally they'd see, wow, there are no Zap gun fights, and there are no villains.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't seem to tumble onto that.
No, because it would have looked as if you had given in to temptation, if there was any at all, if you had gone that route. In light of Star Wars, etc.
Well, it's not a bad route. I think Star Wars was fun. I think it's fantasy rather than science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no object to dramas that have villains and heroes, except it's not the type of thing I do.
That's right. Yeah.
I try very hard to comment. I don't believe there are. I believe there are no villains in life, except now and then perhaps the person who's psychologically, neurotically disturbed. I think we give people a wrong impression of what life is all about to say that crime and disorder and all the ugly things are caused by bad people. They're not. They're caused by people who think differently, who have different values. And we can't solve these things unless we learn to look at it as examples of diversity. And really, that's what I write about.
Mm-hmm. Why is it that there is a shortage of, perhaps this isn't a proper adjective, but adult science fiction?
I think that, of course, motion pictures, as is television, are a blend of commerce and art. And you need someone to put up the money, and generally the people who put up the money look for staples like action, chase, death, violence, sex, and because they feel more comfortable that their money is well invested, and one has to sympathize with them. I think these people have not yet discovered that there's more to science fiction than just rocket ships and ugly aliens and zap guns. I think eventually, I think they will discover, and I think in some cases they are discovering, and we'll start seeing some science fiction classics in the theaters and on television. I hope so. I think it's happening. I think the audience is becoming educated, and I think the people who invest in these things and make them possible are going to have to learn that they're dealing with an audience that is far more educated than they really understand.
I think what so many of us love about Star Trek is the optimism and the fact that it was a positive outlook on the future.
It's much easier to write negative science fiction because immediately you have all sorts of action things going for you. If the world is falling apart, or if the young people have taken over and killed everyone over 30, or whatever the direction you go, it's easier writing. It's very hard to write exciting action and drama and so on with a positive outlook. And because it is hard writing, we don't get a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you have a lot of fun? Even aside from the hard work and headaches, was it enjoyable making the motion picture?
It was to a point. It was outside of the hard work, I guess so. Although I felt a little bit strange in doing it because in the television show, as producer, I had absolute and total control. In the motion picture, of course, I had to deal with the way motion pictures are made, where the director has more control and the producer stays back, and I sort of missed getting my fingers in costume and music and this and that. But other than that, and except for the hard work, yeah, it was a great pleasure to do it.
And director Robert Wise was not foreign to science fiction.
Not foreign to it, and a fine gentleman, and it's a delight to be with.
And he directed, did he not, The Day the Earth Stood Still?
Did indeed,
Which is a classic.
Yes. Our principal problem was the studio, who insisted on getting it out faster than we really felt we could do our best work.
I see.
We were under a great deal of time pressure.
That December 7th deadline was a little hectic.
It was hectic, yes. We could have done so much more had we another month or so.
Just tracing back a little bit, many, many years, back to the days of Have Gun Will Travel, you were a writer on that show, were you not?
I was indeed, yes. I was head writer on the show for a while.
I must say that that is one of the more impressive programs ever done, I think. And what is interesting, too, Richard Boone has mentioned this in recent months, that the half-hour drama often had a high quality back then.
Yes, it was often a high-quality vignette. By coincidence, you mentioning that, I had, last night was my birthday.
Oh.
Among the people there at a little party was Sam Roth, who created Have Gun Will Travel. And we're still dear friends after all these years.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
One of the other TV programs you put together was Genesis 2?
Genesis 2, the Quester tapes.
Right.
Planet Earth.
Quester tapes, there's a lot of headaches behind that, too.
There were, but it was a fun show. And it was a good show. The Quester was a good character. I had my problems with Universal over it, though. I had a terrible battle with them over whether or not Quester could have the woman in the story,
Right.
make love to a woman, and they finally defeated me. It was sort of a whole new area of intolerance came out. They were like saying to me, "Gee, you wouldn't want your sister to go to bed with a robot, would you?"
I particularly enjoyed, too, the casting of Foxworth and Farrell. They worked very well together.
Yes, and extraordinary actors, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Although I did write the show for Leonard Nimoy,
Ah.
and although I think Foxworth is probably the more experienced actor, Leonard has this strange quality of always kind of being alien. Even when he isn't acting, he looks like he might have some strange backgrounds and things. And so as a series, I think Leonard would have been would have been great in it. As a one-time show, Foxworth, of course, was brilliant.
And one of the people working with Star Trek, the TV series, the late Gene Kuhn, did he not get involved with Quester?
Yes, he did. He did writing on the script for me, and one of the last jobs he did before he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
He's a much-missed man, a dear, dear man.
Mm-hmm.
Guy who was a hard-bitten Marine, fought all the way up to the Yellow River and the Korea and all of that, and be-medaled, who left the Marine and began and turned to almost Buddhistic beliefs of non-harm, respect for all life forms, became a lovely and gentle man.
That's very nice to hear. I have not seen this myself, but a friend was mentioning to me, ask Gene Roddenberry about Pretty Maids All in a Row.
Oh, that was, I turned myself to a sex comedy with lots of naked maidens in it, and had a great deal of fun making it. We had Roger Vadim, the famous French lover and director, directing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a nice change of pace from doing science fiction. I like comedy, and it was a very funny script. I think probably the movie did not come out as funny as the script because it was an American sex comedy, and I think we, in the end, probably made a mistake in getting a Frenchman to direct it because the French approach to sex is much different from the American. They were much more honest and direct approach. So many of the things that would have been funny in the hands of an American director, he just couldn't direct it funny because he could not see any humor in it.
What plans are there for the future? What projects?
I made up my mind. I just recently left Paramount. I made up my mind, despite several tempting offers, not to go into independent production. I don't want to be a businessman, and I have to be if my production company begins independently producing films. Really what I love to do is to write, to think and to write. And so I will be doing much more writing. I have a novel in outline, and I will be writing screenplays and researching several things that interest me. I want to do essentially the same thing I did in Star Trek, except I don't want to do it with the Star Trek characters now for a while. I want to explore what in the hell this world and humanity is all about and present it in some different forms now.
Mm-hmm. I particularly enjoyed in Star Trek the Motion Picture, and I know many agree, with the choice of Stephen Collins as Decker.
A most delightful man.
Mm-hmm.
A charming, pleasant, bright guy. He's very much into TM. We both discovered we did TM, and that kind of gave us a little bond from the beginning.
Interesting. What was interesting, too, about Stephen Collins being cast in that role was that he was very much, many of us felt, much like Shatner or Jeffrey Hunter. He could have been a Captain Kirk in many respects.
Yes, that was on purpose. My feeling was that he should sort of be a young Kirk, and that would make the difficulties between them more honest.
Mm-hmm.
And we originally planned to have really one thing I wanted in it. We never had the time or opportunity is to have Kirk really dislike him, and then come to realize that the reason he dislikes him is just like himself in his youth. Mm-hmm. I think it's the same type of problem you often have between fathers and sons. The sons have to get to be 30 before they before they realize how much they really care about their fathers.
Very good point. So you're going to deal with writing pretty well for the next while anyway.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I'll leave to other people to worry about how much it costs to rent a dozen umbrellas and the problems of the right film and which lights to invest in. That's not my business. My business is writing.
Will you write for television or motion pictures?
You can't ignore a medium that hits 50 million people in one night like TV can, so I will be doing both.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there won't be another Star Trek movie? Would we be correct in assuming that?
What's that?
There will not be another Star Trek movie then?
There undoubtedly will be, but not for a couple of years.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
I've just, I was on the movie so long, I began to feel Star Trek closing in on me. I'd like to think the people who like what I write, or like the way my head runs, would welcome it coming from new and fresh and different characters as well as from the old ones.
Mm-hmm. This might be a very difficult question to answer. Is there one specific Star Trek episode from the TV series that you enjoyed the most?
I think probably City on the Edge of Forever.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say right up with that, though, would be the two pilots, which were each were different in other ways.
I know many, too, particularly enjoyed the Captain Pike episodes.
Yeah, that was great fun because I was kind of writing science fiction there as I wanted to write it. When we did the second pilot, of course, NBC turned down the first, and they wanted a little more action, and so we gave them a bit more action. Although there were some things in the second pilot that were great fun too. The psychokinesis that Gary Lockwood character had, and those things, becoming a sort of a godlike creature. It was great fun.
That was an excellent episode, yes. In Genesis 2, Alex Cord was in that.
Yes, he was.
Right? That was a fine program.
That was fun. People said, how can you do optimistic Star Trek and yet do another show that shows the Earth in shambles? Well, I've never said in Star Trek that we just went from the 20th century straight up to all of this wonder without suffering any tough times. I think humanity has always progressed sort of on a three steps forward and two back way. And so what we were showing in there was just, I believe that civilizations die like other organisms, but new and better ones come up out of the dust. They sort of fertilize, dying civilizations fertilize new ones, and the new ones are usually better.
And there was always a reference in Star Trek. Mr. Spock would often mention a dictator after Adolf Hitler.
That's true, yes, we did mention those things, That's right, I'd forgotten.
Which would imply that things were not all rosy in the years ahead of the 20th century, immediately anyway.
We had some ups and downs, yeah. Humanity, here in the 20th century, is still a pretty rowdy, infantile creature. You've got some growing to do.
That's right.
I'm a infant.
Well, as long as we can come through it smiling.
I think we will. That's what we need our writers and entertainers and all that for, to help us. And we need our newsmen to tell us what's really going on.
Very good point. Well, I hope you have a nice stay here, and we're looking forward to seeing your show at the PNE this year.
Please come up and say hello and introduce yourself, because I won't know you. And we'll say hello in person if we run together up there. Huh?
Okay, Gene. Thank you very much.
Righto.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.